Uppercut, uppercut, sonic boom! Let's talk loadouts, baby! I want to talk to you a little bit about loadouts in Pubg Mobile. And I'm interested to hear from you guys what your thought process is when picking the weapons that you pick. I'm going to let you know how I do it. I'm going to let you know some of the things that I kind of feel are overlooked about loadouts. And I'm going to break down why it's so important to adjust it for different game modes. Anyway, stick around. And if you would do me the pleasure of subscribing to the channel and liking the video, that would help me as a YouTuber and as a human being. Moving onwards and upwards. This is obviously one of the most famed loadouts in the game. And it comes in many shapes and forms. You've got your basic 5.56 AR and an SMG. The SMG is for the hipfire and the CQC, and the 5.56 AR covers off on the mid-range and long-range spraying. And while it's not the most effective gun in the game at spraying from long range, it is certainly effective enough that you can get away with it, particularly when you're in a squad game and there are multiple people in the squad spamming that spray. It's a very, very tried and true weapon, and it's the kind of loadout that you need to work with. Now, you don't usually run the MG3 with a bolt action, and these things are fairly obvious to people who've run the guns and had some experience with them. I run it with, generally, another 7.62 AR, or at worst, some kind of DMR like a Mini 14, because you need a secondary weapon that you can use in CQC with an MG3. Now, these are all simple things, but the real stuff you need to start looking at when you're talking about your loadouts is, are you alone? Are you playing solo squads? Are you playing duo squads? And then there's suppression. One of the great things about a DP28, it's not so much that it's just got no recoil, it's the fact that you can suppress CQC. Now, most people think of suppression as a long-range affectation. You've got an MG3, you've got an M249, something like that, or an M416, and you're just spraying it. A DP28, if you're going around a corner, you can spray and hold down the button on the DP28, and you can suppress for a long time because it fires a relatively slow, high alpha strike round. This loadout I'm running here, AKM and DP28, is so famous for those of us who started Pubg Mobile way back in the day and watched a lot of Mortal, who was in the Soul Clan. Mortal would run AKM DP28 religiously, and it's got a couple of really cool attributes that people don't seem to think about. Number one, it fires slow. I don't know if you realize this, but a lot of people get in trouble running fast firing weapons with fast firing weapons like a Vector and an MG3. It has some real issues when you want to pre-fire or if you want to reload. Whereas you fire a AK and a DP28, your damage is delivered at a higher rate by a single round. So although there's a bigger variance if you miss a round, because obviously if you're skipping 47 damage, you also you're doing more damage on your initial strike. Your alpha strike is 47.9 to a base chest damage. That means you are starting with a bigger 0 damage round. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm describing this correctly, but think of it like this. When you're firing a Mark 14, one of my favorite weapons, one of the reasons I love running double Mark 14 is your initial round is 60 base damage to a chest shot. Now, they might have a faster firing gun, but you both start at 0, okay? So their damage comes more consistently and quicker for a lot of these weapons, but your first round is bigger. And I love that alpha strike in my gameplay, particularly when I'm running double Mark 14, because it's such a vicious gun if you get your first bash in, okay? Now, then you've got to come to the other side of the coin, which is really simple. Damage potential. You've got 40 base damage, 47.9 base damage on an AK. You've got 47 base damage on a DP28. That means a chest damage shot will do 47. And this is the Mark 14, by the way. I don't know why people won't run two of these things at the same time. It covers for a lot of the deficiencies of each other. Like having two Mark 14s means you have 40, 60 base damage rounds at full auto, the same speed as an M416 available. Like, and you can spray with it. Just go and adjust your recoil and get better at the game. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, so if you're running the Mortal, the DP28, and the AKM, and you're playing solo squads, it's an excellent loadout because it gives you the potential of 4,000 damage before you have to reload either of those weapons. And that's more than enough to wipe a squad. It's way more than enough. Another thing is because you're firing guns that fire slowly, unlike an MG3 where you never feel like you can carry enough sevens, you can have 250 rounds of sevens in your backpack and still have 4,000 potential damage and not have to carry more sevens and not feel like you're falling behind in your loot, and your late game loot is going to be really badly affected. Let me give you a great example today of a game I played with McDingaling and Killam and Barry. Or was it just McDingaling and Killam, I think? The end game was horrible because we came across a crate very late. I took an AMR to pair with my AKM. McDingaling took a second MG3. I had to give him 50 rounds of sevens to cover off on his double MG3 loadout. We won the game, but I was the last man standing. McDingaling sacrificed himself to create a diversion because he had no sevens left and couldn't do anything. My AMR had run out of ammo already, and my AKM had 30 rounds left in it when the last guy fell over, and that was all we had as a squad left. It was a really, really poor loadout choice. It's an all right kind of thing when you've got a full squad and you've got a lot of sevens and you can go and run double MG3 to do it. Or you've got a lot of other people in your squad with long-range weapons, so you can muck around and run an AMR. But when you get to the final circle, they're 200 meters away. You don't have an AMR. You don't have an 8X that you can slip on an AKM anymore. And you don't have a lot of sevens, so you can't afford to just tap out a red dot. It's a shit loadout, and you deserve to come second. We got lucky. We didn't, but we really deserved to get punished for that loadout. It was a lot harder than it should have been. Another gun that gets overlooked in this regard is the stablemate of this UMP that you can see here, the Tommy gun. The Tommy gun with 50 base rounds at 43 damage is easily the highest potential damage you can pump out in terms of SMGs. The closest would be the Bison, and that's another one that you really should be looking at. I find that I change my loadouts a lot because more than pretty much any of the guys I play with, I change loadouts due to the fact that I need different guns to do videos on. If there's a QBZ now on Erangel, I'm going to start running more QBZ. If they bring in a different shotgun, I'm going to run more of that. And I need to constantly be getting footage for different guns. So I'm always trying different loadouts. And I will tell you now, without a shadow of a doubt, the Bison is one of the most underrated weapons in PUBG Mobile. If you run Bison, you have huge damage potential. It has incredible hip fire. Like, the hip fire on a Bison is every bit as deadly as a UMP. And it's just the kind of gun that, because it has the ability to run so many rounds, you can really, really go to town. And although it's not nearly as good as an M416 or an AUG or something in this mid-range here, where you cover off on a lot of stuff, it's not a big deal because Bisons are not your spray weapons. People make the mistake of trying to run the Bison as some low-rent VSS clone, and it is not that. It is not that at all. In fact, what the Bison does best is imitate a UMP. The Bison's hipfire, its high damage round, and its large ammo capacity gives you the opportunity to both suppress and hit a lot of targets without having to reload. So you can couple that with a simple AR or a shotgun and be really, really good at CQC. These are the questions that I ask when I run a loadout. And there's simple rules, like you can't run two fast reload guns together. Like two guns that are going to run out of ammo and burn a lot of ammo, if you run them both together, you're going to be in trouble. Like running Bison and VSS, you never feel like you can get enough 7s, right? Because the VSS takes so much spam. Whereas you run an AK and a Kar 98 and you feel like 250 rounds can get you through the whole game. I'd really love to get your opinions on the loadout question. My favorite loadout is double Mark 14. I think my best loadout is probably one Mark 14 and an AWM, but who doesn't do better when they're running an AWM? But I often find myself running UMP DP28 solo squad because it's got the most diverse possible outcome. You've got so much ammo and spray capacity with the DP28, and you've got so much hip fire, and you don't need to run a lot of ammo with the UMP. And I just find that is one of the most successful loadouts on the board for me. Anyway, I'm Bushka. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and visit the channel. If this is your first time here, then we do a lot of stuff like this. And if you want to join the Patreon streams, which happen once to twice a week, it's patreon.com/thebushka. Private Discord, lots of giggles. The tournaments are great. McDingling and Brett have won the past 2 tournaments. If you want to win those tournaments, it's the first Monday of every month, Australian time. And we get stuck in. We have a good time. And we have a long time. Until next time, look after yourselves, stay safe in the battlefield, and bye for